Do you ever just feel like other people find you super annoying? Because I do. I feel like sometimes other people just think I'm the most annoying person in the world. And I do a lot of things, or refrain from doing a lot of things, both, to prevent being annoying, to prevent behavior that I think other people would see as annoying behavior. That it might not necessarily be, and it might not even be behavior that I find annoying, but I'm afraid that I'm going to annoy someone else. Even, mention like commenting on other people's videos or something. Like, I like to particular people that are from the UK, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to comment on their stuff too much. I'm like, they're probably sitting around hearing the strains of American Woman, like dun 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 anytime. And that's weird that I would even think that they would do anything like that. But, it's crossed my mind, or content creators from Australia, anywhere where American Woman would apply. And then for, American content creators, whatever, an annoying theme song. But no, I tend to not comment a lot. And that's one reason why I don't want to be seen as annoying, when I love it when people comment on my videos. Like, I love their comments. I love reading all the different comments, and I try to respond to all of them. I have noticed that once or twice, I usually use the app on my phone, so hardly ever look at any of this through an actual computer screen. So there might be stuff I miss, but I find myself thinking, I don't know, holding myself to like this weird higher standard than I do everyone else, like enforcing these unrealistic standards, like, don't do that, that's annoying, don't do that, people could find that annoying, don't do that, somebody might think that's annoying. And that in itself, you got it, is annoying. It's behavior that it started in childhood, and maybe a lot of autistic people feel like they are annoying to other people. It might have something to do with us supposedly not picking up on social cues and all of that, or observing social rules and things like that. Maybe we're a little hesitant sometimes to be persistent, because sometimes our persistence has been seen as annoying, or even, asking for the things that we need. We might be afraid that we're perceived as being needy or complaining a lot or something like that. And I experience all of that as well. And but I know that this started when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, I felt like I was the most annoying thing on the planet to my family. I felt like every single family member found me extremely annoying. To make myself less annoying, I had to learn to adapt. And because being annoying, and my dad never did this, but the others did at some point or another, being annoying to them would get me just locked out of the house as a little kid, like too young to really have been locked out of the house. But, that was the 80s. But, I would just be trying to get someone's attention. I might need help, or I might just want someone's attention. I had kind of a lot of times where I felt invisible and like, so I would try to get people's attention and it just didn't work. It would just get me shut out of the house. So I learned to be less annoying. And, it was usually just me being a happy, giggly child sometimes. And other times it would be like needing something and repeatedly asking for it to the point where the asking, I guess it was just easier to put me out of the house than to actually fulfill whatever need that I had. And so that happened. And I started noticing that my oldest brother rarely got in trouble. And that I thought, well, if I mimic his behavior, and not in that sense where you're kind of teasing someone by imitating them or anything like kids do. Like I just observed his behavior. So I thought, okay, if I act like that, I'm maybe less likely to get in trouble. So I would start acting like him in order to avoid trouble. And then that made him be way more tolerant of me and even seem like he occasionally, as we got older, the more I mirrored him, it even seemed like he liked me as a person. But I do know, and I'm not sure if he's aware of it, but I do know that the traits that were really my traits were the ones that, continued to be annoying. And the parts of me that he seems to like are really just the parts of him that I imitate whenever I have to be around him or around the family. So I'm still annoying. I'm still the annoying little sister. But I just had to learn to, push all of the stuff down below the surface that was really me. And I had been thinking lately, like, what do I do a video on? The only thing I feel really strongly about right now, I'm just kind of in a lull right now. So I thought I'd like to do one on humor sometime. And then I thought, oh, I'm not sure if this time is the appropriate time for humor because it's, dark times and bad things happening in the world and all of that. And then I thought to myself, well, that's kind of like the best time for humor is, for me personally, like during dark times is when I need humor the most, because humor has really been a huge coping mechanism for me. And it has saved me probably a lot of times when I can laugh at things and laugh at myself and my own suffering. That's way better than, losing myself to the swamp of the never-ending story, or the pit of despair, whatever. Humor has been my anchor, and I'm talking like climbing anchor. As I'm ascending, it's my anchor point that's at the top of the cliff, not an anchor in a ship. One thing that really grinds my gears is I refuse to sink anchor tattoos. That makes no sense because they always feature the little ship anchor. And if your ship anchor is refusing to sink, it is defective. And I used to joke with my second husband and tell him I was going to get a ship anchor, American traditional style, that said, "Born to sink." But anyway, that was a side ramble on anchors. But, humor is kind of like that anchor point at the top of the cliff that helps pull me, out of the cenote of despair sometimes. So it is, that's how I see it. But my humor is very specific and personalized to me, and other people find it annoying. I know some people find it annoying because some of those people are my friends. But, it's just something that I compulsively do. Like, I make jokes just compulsively. Like, if it pops in my brain, it doesn't necessarily mean that it should pop out of my mouth, but more often than not, it does. And so that can really make me, be annoying to some people, especially, um, you know, it makes me happy to make light of my own suffering and to, because I lived through it. I can, talk about it however I want. But whenever I don't make light of other people's suffering, that's not something that I do. But whenever I'm just going about my life happy and unserious, it seems like a lot of times I get a lot of pushback from people who, like, their baseline is angry. It seems like those people whose baseline is angry see people who are, somewhat like, they may see me and be like, oh, this ditzy airhead's over here being so unserious and making jokes when, there's so much to be angry about. And, it doesn't matter what your views are on the world. In every single group that there is in existence, there's that angry person who feels like it's their job to bring everybody else down and make everybody else angry with them. It really does go back to being a kid, being seen as annoying, because I laughed a lot when I was a kid, even if I was not, happy. I nervously laughed. I would just nervous giggle all the time. And I think there's actually some sort of name for that. And I looked it up one time, and I can't, anxious laughter type thing. But I laughed a lot, even when I wasn't really just truly happy. I learned that smiling and laughing wasn't seen as attitude. It was just annoying. So I didn't know how else to fix that. I didn't know how to fix anything. I was just a kid, other than to learn how to mask. But, in my current life, I'm still trying not to be annoying to people. Like, if I need help, I don't want to ask for it because I don't want to be annoying. If I want to spend time with somebody, I won't ask because I don't want to be annoying. And, if I won't send too many texts because I don't want to be annoying. And I don't like phone calls anyway. So that's, if it is like an emergency, like when my water heater broke, I did have that split second thought, like, oh God, I don't want to annoy my boyfriend by calling him. And it happens a lot. Like, I don't, want to be an annoyance to anybody. And so I just developed this hyper independence out of just trying to avoid annoying people. And I don't know if that's the same thing as, not wanting to be a burden on anyone. I don't want to be a burden either, but my primary concern is annoyance. There's burden can be, a variety of different things. It can be a financial burden or, emotional burden, whatever. But I don't want to annoy people. And that seems to, that was like one of the first things I learned. Don't annoy people, because it can get you punished, or it can either get you thrown out of the house or you can get the belt from being annoying. and I didn't want either one of those things. Like, I liked spending time outside, don't get me wrong. I loved being outside with the animals. But chances are, if I was bothering someone about something, it's because I needed something from them. I had a couple of falls when I was a kid because I was climbing in the kitchen to get my own food. So if somebody had just maybe gotten it for me, I wouldn't have had to go to the doctor and emergency room those couple of times. But I didn't want to annoy anyone, so I didn't ask. I was like, I know I can get up there by climbing up on this bar stool and climbing up onto the cabinet top and then climbing up onto, I don't know why cereal would be kept in cabinets so high, but anyway, so I still have that residue of feeling annoying, like, and I'm worried sometimes when I'm around someone who is obnoxious. Like, I don't know if annoying and obnoxious, I think obnoxious, it just kicks it up a notch. That's, annoying is like black pepper. It's barely even a spice. It does barely even counts as a spice. But, obnoxious is more like the ghost pepper. And so it's being around an obnoxious person. Since I did learn to mirror early on in life, it was something that I would do unintentionally, like subconsciously. So I dated a guy briefly, and I nicknamed him the Convo Dom because that guy would not leave a space for breath in a conversation. I couldn't find anywhere in the conversation to, interject and I struggle with that anyway. I don't do well with two-way conversation. I'm a reader, and like a quote that I saw the other day it was just somebody's social media. It says, like, reading, in order to read, you have to listen, because reading is not a two-way conversation. It's like, you have to listen the whole way through. And so I'm more of a listener. And so I guess he liked that I was a listener, because he said, we're like the same person. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I hope not. Because it was a bit over the top. And like most people, he had his redeeming qualities, and, he's talented and all that. But holy moly, it was just not compatible. And I thought, whenever it was right after I started doing my video journals, and I spent enough time around that person that I started, like, some of the personality traits started rubbing off. And I was watching those video journals going, oh my gosh, I've got the residue of that dude's personality on me still. And get it off. But it was like those annoying, like some annoying personality quirks, I guess you'd call it. And so now, after I watched that, I was like, oh, now I'm aware of that. Now I know that I have to be really careful. I always thought I had to be careful who I spent much time around, because it only makes sense. It's, personality traits aren't the only thing that can, kind of, you might be influenced by different things, and you have to be selective. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But, but I was like, oh man, I really need to watch it. And so if I'm around someone who is giving me the ick, I have to make sure that I'm not around them very long, or the ick might rub off. Like fish in a fish tank, getting the ick. Yeah, so I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be annoying. And I still just try to avoid asking for anything, thinking that I'm being annoying by asking for anybody's time, attention, help, anything. And, sometimes I'll feel like, oh, I'd really like to spend time with this person. They haven't texted me in a while or whatever. And then I'm like, it's a two-way street. You haven't either, because you didn't want to be annoying. So I have to remind myself of that, because I will be quick to say, oh, they were annoyed with me the last time we hung out, so they're avoiding, or something like that. I might think the worst, and it may or may not be true. But if I jump to that conclusion, then I'm not giving myself a chance to find out. But yeah, I don't know how annoying it is for me to just, be pointing out different things in the environment. Like if I'm in someone else's environment and they haven't made any kind of accommodations, and I start naming off things like, well, the light's too bright, could you mind turning that off? And this has happened in my therapist's office. I'm going to use that as an example. Like, I go in there, she has like office with fluorescent light. I'm like, can you turn that fluorescent light off, please? She had natural light, a window. It was bright enough. So she turns off the fluorescent light, and the blinds are open. And there is a very shiny truck parked in the parking lot that the sun is reflecting on, and I'm sitting facing the window, and I was like, I'm sorry, but now could you close the blinds, or we can switch chairs. Like there's a truck that's the glare, and I'm trying to I feel bad almost for asking, but I'm like, this is the therapist office. If there's anywhere that you should feel okay about asking for accommodations, that's where. But I don't know about other people. Sometimes I've gotten kind of a feeling that maybe it's a little too much, and so I worry about that being annoying. But what? So what? Too bad. I'm gonna ask for it anyway if it's light that's blinding me, or or like electrical buzzing. Those kinds of things. Even if you have to dismantle the timer on your 1980s model oven range. Kitchen range, whatever. So yeah, I worry about being annoying a whole lot. It does have a lot to do with my sense of humor, because sometimes I think I could be considered insensitive by some people if I'm joking around and making light of a situation or whatever. For example, I commented recently on Autistic, Not Aliens religion video that my mom had told me to pray for a family member who was having some minor surgery. And I think it was the minor surgery. There was two things happened at once, and both of them, she's like, pray for so-and-so. And I'm like, okay. So I say a prayer to Joe Pesci because I am a George Carlin fan, and there was a whole skit about George Carlin said he prayed to Joe Pesci. I'll try to drop a link to that in my description or whatever. But so I know the person. He's my family member. I think he would think it's funny. He has a good sense of humor. He, he would think it was funny. And so but anytime I hear that, I think of George Carlin praying to Joe Pesci. So if I'm not over there trying to use the force, that's my other go-to. When somebody says, that they need prayers, I'm like trying to use the force. And the other option is to pray to Joe Pesci or a random, just take your pick, just a random, Zeus, Thor, whatever. So it's, if somebody was just looking through the comments though, and they saw that, they would just be like, just a regular average, MT person scrolled through and saw that, they'd probably go, oh, this person is such an insensitive bee. I can't believe she'd say that. She doesn't care about this person. And I do care about that person. I'm just a non-religious person, so I can't, it's not there. It's not that whatever it is isn't there. So my first response was to try to Joe Pesci. And, if that scene is insensitive, I don't know what to do about it, because, I could apologize, but that's not going to change it. It's not going to change anything. If an apology is owed, it would be to that person, I guess. But they were fine. They made it because of, modern medicine and all that. But I just think about things like that, being seen as insensitive and annoying. Basically, sometimes I just think I'm an annoying a-hole. And that's all there is to it, because I'm self-aware enough to know that I could definitely be annoying sometimes. Like, I don't think I've ever run into anyone that I've known very well, that could just not be annoying sometimes. I think everybody has the capability of being annoying to, you put the right combination together, somebody's going to annoy somebody. And so I'm just self-aware, very self-aware that I can be annoying, and that my sense of humor can be a big part of that. But it can also help me survive. So I'm not trying to get rid of that part at all. I'm trying to get rid of the part of me that's the censorship part of me that is telling me not to do things, like, don't do that, that's annoying, when it's something that seriously needs to be done, like asking for help or calling, just try to spend time with somebody, maintain friendships or relationships. I just need to reinforce, that's not annoyance. That's part of how healthy relationships are maintained. You kind of have to annoy each other sometimes. So I just try to keep that in mind.